The Pulse doo 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 doo. The Pulse doo 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 doo.
Hello and welcome to the Pulse of the Eastern Townships Broadcast. I'm William Crooks. On today's episode, we begin in Sherbrooke, where a recent court decision has dismissed a bid by Sherbrooke Citoyen to be recognized as the city's official opposition. While the ruling upheld the city's interpretation of the law, it also acknowledged a legal gray zone that raises broader questions about how municipal democracy functions when political representation shifts between elections. We'll hear from party leader Raïs Kibonge on what the decision means, why opposition status matters, and how the case has sparked a wider debate around party politics and independent councillors at the municipal level. After that, we turn to local history and sport with a segment produced by Missisquoi Community Radio, CIDI 99.1 FM, with the support of the Local Journalism Initiative. Acclaimed basketball coach Mike Hickey reflects on his new book, When Basketball Was a Game, which chronicles the life and legacy of his mentor, Don Ryan, and the impact of community-based basketball in shaping generations of young people. This segment looks at a recent court decision involving Sherbrooke Citoyen and its bid to be recognized as the city's official opposition. In an interview recorded January 13th, party leader Raïs Kibonge explains why the case matters beyond party politics, what the ruling means in practice, and how it affects democratic checks and balances at City Hall. So the courts rejected your claim to be official opposition in Sherbrooke, Raïs. Please explain the details.
Yeah, exactly. Technically, we were saying that if we want to have an opposition and to work as an opposition, we need founding and we need the city to reserve at least 6 months of founding for us to work. And so we claim that we go to the judge to ask if they could see how to interpret the law, because the law wasn't very clear about that. And that's when the judge hear the city, and then that judge say, well, indeed, there is kind of a gray zone between what can be done and not be done. Clearly, that the law say that the opposition must be founded, but since there is a gray area, it's not the job of the court to write the law. The job of the court is to interpret the law, and think that for the moment the status quo prevail. So they ended the judgment saying that they hope that Quebec City and the lawmaker will be able to look at that issue and see how to make it more clear. But for the moment, the city didn't go against any law, and the interpretation was good enough to stay like it is.
So you neither became official opposition, nor are you receiving funding, right?
Well, yeah. What we were saying is to act as efficient opposition. Because when you're in the opposition, when you're the official opposition, that comes with funding, that comes with some credit, and usually you use that to work, to pay some specialist experts to dive into certain hot topics and stuff like that. But right now, we did have that funding. That's why we were fighting to be with the height at the loyal opposition, and that's the other to create more funding to cover more subjects. So what that means is we will be able to continue to work as the unofficial opposition. We will have to work on some subjects that will generally prioritize. So each councillor have a little budget to do research and work. That is not the same as if you're found as regular recognized. So that's the main difference there. That means instead of looking at 5 or 10 different topics covering the whole city, we'll be able to pick one or two with our regular budget for certain work. But we will not be able to have a whole a screen, a cabinet, a searcher, and stuff like that.
Is there any chance Quebec legislators would make a decision on this quickly and this might change?
We don't think so, because it's a bigger issue, meaning it touches a lot of different cities, and because what Quebec recognizes is at the minute when the mayor have a cabinet or a team, there must be a kind of check and balance. So if there is an opposition or if there's a party that takes a different mark that needs to be the opposition party, they can have it. But the law doesn't say if they have just half of the different marker or half of the different jurisdictions, what must be done. So, by example, right now, if you look at the National Assembly, the Missisquoi and Quebec Solidaire are not supposed to be official group, meaning founding as organizing a stuff, but the National Assembly say that they understand that with democracy, you need to have check and balance, so they're going to have the status of group parliamentaire, and they'll be able to have handling and stuff like that. Because the regular law says that if we want to be recognized as a parliamentary group, we need to have 12 MPs and or 20% of the vote. Neither Quebec Solidaire or the PQ have that on the first two elections in 2022 and 2018. But there was a convention saying that, well, since you a group that organized and utilized and a lot of MP in the National Assembly, so we will make an exception and recognize you as a parliamentary group. So that was almost the thing we were trying to say, because following the law, if you have one city council and you reach 20% of the vote, there's no debate. You'll have automatically the term of the opposition. But if you have below that, you may need to see if you have all the different other box, if it takes the other different box. And since we're in a kind of a gray area, because we reached at total, we had 17% of the vote. But right now, we're the only party, official party with like a 3 representatives at City Hall. So that's why we're saying so. The law doesn't say exactly what to do in that case. What can we do? That's what in French the judge says on sur le fond, we asking a real good question to the democracy, but as a judge, it's not her job to make a law, it's to interpret them. So she was saying, I cannot put myself in the shoe of the lawmaker of Quebec and change the law. What I can say is just to interpret it and see if you were good enough, if the city understand it good enough, and that's worth it. But so we say sur la forme, the city was right. Sur le fond, we were right. And since he interprets more the form that the meaning that the spirit of the law, so she was right. Yeah, for the spirit of the law, the city understands well how it's supposed to do. But on the law itself, I cannot substitute myself to lawmakers, so that question will need to be addressed by Quebec and National Assembly lawmakers.
This brings up an interesting question. If everyone on city council was independent, who would be the official opposition?
No one, actually, because the opposition is supposed to be a group. And why is that? Is because you need to go back to the beginning. Why let's say before the the 50s of the last century, the people who were going in politics was mostly like, let's say, local leader and notable. So mostly people from the Chambre de Commerce and rich people and stuff. When they try to democratize it, they say, look, if a shoemaker or a teacher want to go in politics, will not have like the money to raise and run a campaign. But if he associates himself, because we have the right to association, the law and the constitution and stuff, if he associates himself with other people, they'll be able like to put together like a campaign, money and stuff, and be able like to run a campaign. So we just need to know who supporting who, and that's when the idea of municipal party came in. So it was a kind of to try to democratize it. So that's why when you're an independent, basically you're saying, I'm running as myself to represent my neighborhood. But when you're running for a party, you're saying, I'm running for this idea of my city, and I'm running to represent both my neighborhood and this idea on the whole city. And that's why, like, even if you're alone, let's say in 2017, we're able, like, to reach, like, 21% of the vote, and we had just one representative, because it was Limboda at the time. So that's why we were the automatic opposition. There was no, like, turning around that. We had all the different criteria. So that's why we were able, like, to have it into 2017. But now, before Annie Fauché, who was member of the Director Sherbrooke, quit to become independent and to sit as an independent, she was supposed to be the official opposition. So the law say the first criteria to be able to to claim the title of official opposition is first be elected, have 20% of the whole vote. If those criteria are not completed, the second option is to give the title of the second opposition to the party that had one representative at least and have the most votes. And there was a difference of 900 votes between Sherbrooke Citoyen and the Director Sherbrooke. They had it. So at the moment when she resigned as a member of the Director Sherbrooke and say she wanted to sit as an independent, that's when the question arises. The question was arise to say, so now since we're the only party represented at the City Hall and we have 3 representatives and technically we're the only party that had the most votes, the other party does not have any other representative, should we have that title? And that's where we went to court. So the court say so there was 2 subjects. The first subject was to say, should we have it or not? The second thing that we asked to be here to have a urgent hearing of the court was to say, if the case is go to the superior court and we need to do our job, we would like to have a kind of advance of funding for 6 months to do our job as of opposition. Like that, when we'll do that, and the case will be going through the court, and we'll be able to do our work as a opposition. And mainly as official opposition, what you need to be is a kind of second opinion, a kind of not a back door, but a second door. So let's say the mayor, she's supposed to have a whole view of the city and to say, okay, this is the general consensus. And usually the opposition bring more option to that consensus and say, so this is what we hear from other specialists on the floor, other people working on that case. And that's how the second ballot is supposed to work, like in parliament or in City Hall. But since the judge say, well, I don't see any emergency right now, as a city councillor, you have the same amount of money to do your research and work as independent heads, so I don't see any urgency. I understand that the spirit of the law is not clear, but the law was followed rightly. So lawmakers in Quebec should be able to one day work again that law to make its spirit more understandable and more adapt to the city realities. But for the moment, there's no urgency. And that's when we took the decision to pull the plug, because going to court is pretty expensive, and we had to put our own money to go to the court. I think that is, yes, very important for the democracy, and that's more than cities in Sherbrooke. So that's why we decided to focus on little subjects we'll be able to work directly with people. So it's kind of sad because we'll not be able to cover a lot of stuff. And we have example of different subjects that we were able to, at the time where we were at the official opposition in 2017 and 2021, to be able to put forward whatever is there was this park release where the city was saying no, we have the right to expropriate, and then after that we worked with the local citizen and we went to court, and the court said no, the city don't have the right to expropriate, and that was one of the big victory of the other mandate where we were the opposition official. Now, since we have 3 representatives, they'll be able to put some of the resources together, but they will not be able to cover a lot of subjects. They will need to be very selective because they'll not have a new funding to pay. Sometimes you need to call a specialist, a lawyer, an expert in biology or something like that to help you build your case and to bring it to the city council. So they'll be able to do that on small level as any city councillor can do, because they have a little budget to do so small research for the neighborhood, but they will not be able to cover the whole city.
Okay, Raïs, did I miss something important?
No, just as we say, we always say that we put ourselves together as a party because we had this idea that the city must be more transparency and more for the environment, and most importantly, have the citizen in the heart of their preoccupation. So we will continue to do that. We'll continue to mobilize people and work with different non-profit, NGO, local commerciants and stuff. We continue to uphold our values, and we'll do differently. But we're still there, and we're still working for people.
Okay, is there anything else for Sherbrooke that's on your radar, Raïs?
Not for the moment. One of the subjects we wanted to maybe put in upfront was the airport situation, because there was a kind of, it's not a mayhem, but there was a kind of situation where they had to nominate a new board. 4 of 5 board member had to go because there was a kind of conflict of interest and stuff like that. So they nominated it an urgent board, new people on board. But if we had, let's say, the funding for the opposition, we could have asked the question and also call, let's say, yes, it's the Sherbrooke Airport, but it's in the middle of the region. So, did they call people, the mayor of Sheraton? Did they call the prefect? How do they choose or the different new board people were there? There's a lot of old, not old, but people who used to work at the city that were nominated on that board. So those are just legitimate questions to know that if 4 out of 5 or your board they remove themselves because they're not in a good situation, how do you assure yourself that that does not like to come back again? And how do you pick your people if you want them to redress the situation? Probably because of the situation in Venezuela, there'll be impact on gas. Definitely, because I don't know if you remember when there was a Iraq situation when the United States got to Iraq. For the first week, it was okay, and then after that, there was a kind of a thaw of the gas price. As a city, it touched us because of the transport, the city transport and the bus and stuff, to see if we'll be able to provide the same services, or we'll need to readjust them, because when the gas price goes up, we need to see how to manage that. That is, let's say, for the next 6 months. That will depend on what will happen on the international scene, but something we can take to see if the local transit will be able to give the same services, whatever it is in Lennoxville or in different periphery area, or if the service will be affected because the price of gas will go up.
That was Sherbrooke Citoyen leader Raïs Kibonge discussing the court ruling on official opposition status and its implications for municipal democracy in Sherbrooke. You can find the full story and related coverage online on pulsetownships.com. I'm William Crooks, and keep that finger on the pulse.
And welcome everyone to the Township's Daily News Bits. I'm Holly Bailey here on 99.1, bringing you news and events that matter to townshippers through the local journalism initiative funded by the Government of Canada. Have a little listen as we jump into this new story here for 2026. Happy New Year to all, and so happy to find you here on the flip side. This is Coach Hickey, whom some of you might know quite well.
But most of all, it has to be fun. So that's why the title of the thing, when basketball was a game. It's a game. It's not the, when these kids are playing, it's not the 7th game of the Stanley Cup or the World Series. It's something which it's a learning experience. You have to learn to win. You have to learn to lose. And you have to learn to get positive reaction out of both experiences.
Those are the wise words of Coach Hickey, a.k.a. Mike Hickey, known to many here in the townships and throughout Quebec and Canada. He is one of the most impressive and eclectic coaching resumes of anyone, it is said, in the Canadian university basketball programs, having worked with both men and women for more than 5 decades. He even worked at the national level, accompanying the Canadian women's team to participate in the Summer Olympics in Atlanta. What a highlight. What a career, and what experience he brings to the table, as he recently published his latest book on mentor and friend Don Ryan, entitled When Basketball Was a Game. It was released late 2025, and we speak to him now about life, about coaching, about the book, and what it represents, and why he felt it needed to be written. We present to you, here on 99.1, Coach Hickey. Okay, Mr. Mike Hickey, thank you so much for joining us here on 99.1.
Pleasure. I really appreciate the opportunity to talk about my book.
Exactly. So you've had a really long and extensive career as a basketball coach.
I'm old, that's why.
Pardon me?
Because I'm old, that's why.
Is it just about 50 years you were coaching?
Started in 1973 at Sir George Williams University, which is no longer in existence. It's now part of Concordia. So it goes back over 50 years. Yes.
That's amazing.
It does.
What kept you fired up and invested in the sport and coaching?
I always enjoyed sports, okay, and basketball was the one sport where I was decent at, so... And actually, when I graduated from college in Vermont, my plan was to go and and become a guidance counselor, but I got an offer to come up to Montreal to do some coaching, and I really, really, really love it, So I like working with people, and most of my life has been with college, university students, but I also do a lot of work with youngsters, 5 to 10, and do a lot of work in camps. So something that I think I'm good at, and certainly I get a lot of enjoyment out of it. Mm-hmm.
Beautiful. I wondered what you might have personally learned from coaching others and how you view the role of sports in a child or person's development.
I think sports is like any other activity, dance or music, is really important for a number of reasons. One, we have to make sure we get our young children active, right, and not on screens and not on computers. And I think that the physical literacy is really important, and we don't always get it from the schools the way we should. It's, everybody has budget problems and things like that. And what's happening now in sports is that we tend to really take care of the elite type of players and spend more money on that than maybe perhaps we should. So, but what sports does, in my experience, it provides people with the ability to work as a team. It involves some discipline. It involves goal setting, and it you ask for some dedication, showing up for practices, showing up for games, loyalty to your team, which is now a big question mark. But most of all, it has to be fun. So that's why the title of the thing is "When Basketball Was a Game." It's a game. It's not the, when these kids are playing, it's not the 7th game of the Stanley Cup or the World Series. It's something which it's a learning experience. You have to learn to win. You have to learn to lose, and you have to learn to get positive reaction out of both experiences.
I was going to ask that next. Why the title of your book, "When Basketball Was a Game"?
A little bit of a throwback to being in my 70s and watching the game evolve. One of the things that my main character, Don Ryan, did was he instilled real strong principles, going to school, being loyal, being disciplined. But first and foremost, it was fun. I mean, he took kids to Europe on 4 occasions. He took them down to Louisiana, Las Vegas multiple times. The team was located in Hempstead, New York, on Long Island, and he took baseball and basketball teams to Quebec on 22 different occasions. And he never charged the kids a cent. Okay, the kids. This is not my hometown was not by any stretch of the imagination rich. A lot of these kids came from broken homes, and he provided a refuge, a haven from them. And I go back to when I was a kid. When I went to the park, that was my safe space. And that was my, things weren't going well. I go out and I could shoot a basketball. And for other people, it may be swimming, and maybe playing a musical instrument, but you need this. You need to be a kid. And part of being a kid is having fun. And I think that we have a tendency now that putting people on elite teams way too early, where they travel more than they practice, where they could be in the summertime, they could play for one team, and next week they get offered to play for a different team. So the idea of in sports, they have to use the term family. You're a family, except that people change teams so quickly. It's not really it's a dysfunctional family. So one of the things that Coach Ryan did was really impress upon that. This is our group, and through the years, he had these players for 1 or 2 years. But the comeback, of always getting involved, of giving donations back for the next generation can enjoy what they had, was really, really important, and part of the reason why he was so successful all these years. I mean, he coached for 60 years, and the same group of kids, and while he had tremendous success, he won over 3,000 games, which is unheard of. But the real success is what the lessons the players learn playing for him, and the need to for education. So he started this theme of carry the books as well as the ball. So I was in a book signing in New York last week. They always say carry the books, and I made a team because I was a good student and a good player. And so I think that's the onus of the book is different those stories about how people who might have struggled in school or came from broken homes, or maybe one or two from a familiar abusive homes, found a person who would look after them.
Right.
And then the pay it back scenario came where former players started to help coach. So
this is major. He was teaching like life skills and
without
aspects of humanity and self-respect and
he did the same thing in his classrooms, So, so I think the stories are very enjoyable. I've been very pleased with the feedback, I'm looking forward to Saturday to going down to Bishops. I spent 11 years in the townships, did some coaching down there, and it's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be two good basketball games against McGill. It's always a great atmosphere in the Mitchell Gymnasium, and I'm going to reconnect with some old friends and hopefully meet some new ones.
So you were coaching assistant coach of the men's basketball team at Bishops?
So I went down there in '97, basically because my son was going to Champlain, and he wasn't doing a real good job in school. He was doing okay on the basketball court. So I was going to be the father figure in the background. So the first 4 years, I coached the women at Champlain. Then I coached the men at Bishops, assistant coach Eddie Palmacala for the men's team. And then I went back and coached the Champlain men for, I think, 3 years.
Okay.
And then it was time for us to move back to Montreal. So
nice. So getting back to Don Ryan, he was someone you met at 13 years of age, I read.
Right. I grew up on Long Island, but I went to school in Queens with a bunch of my friends, and he would come by and pick us up and drive us home, which saved us about an hour of traveling on city buses. So on those trips, he would constantly be challenging us for different trivia things, and it was just enjoyable. So I got to know him through there, and then through basketball, I was constantly playing in his leagues in the summertime. And then when I became a head coach at Sir George Williams, he helped me get some players from the States to come up and play. So, and from that, we had this really, really good relationship. Anytime he was in Quebec, I would come by and watch his teams play. And at one point, I wrote a previous book 20 years ago, and I gave him a copy. He liked it and said, "Would you be interested in doing something on the Hempstead team?" And I said, "I would love to do something like that." But it was a long process. We started maybe, 9 years ago. And then COVID came. Doing research from 300 miles away is difficult. So I would go down and hit the library and stuff. I think one of the things we did well in the book is there's a lot of research involved. And maybe that's the one thing I learned in college was to do research properly. But so we kept saying we're going to do it, we have it by last year, and then it's just things happen, and we just didn't want to rush it out and not have it done properly. I think we did a good job on it.
You did it justice. I haven't read it myself, but I read excerpts and such that you shared with me, and just the stories of different individuals and their tributes to him on how he really affected their lives and was a father figure for many in some cases.
Exactly right. And the other funny thing about it is after the book went to the publisher, I had two people come up with similar stories I would have loved to put in the book, But sometimes you have to say, it's done.
Yeah, the game's done.
That's right.
You touched on a few things, just how much the role sports or arts or activities plays in a person's development. And I see the scenario where Canadian universities are facing all kinds of pressure and cuts. We look at McGill just had to make the decision to cut all these 25 clubs and varsity teams. In your opinion, How do you view this, and how do you see the repercussions?
Somebody who either through Concordia, St. George, or Bishops are always playing against Miguel.
Yeah.
It'd be easy to sit there and criticize. The thing is, the funding is really, really difficult, and the government's making it very difficult. I always think the way it looks like, particularly the English institutions, and I think, Bishops just pulled back from the football to go back and play in Quebec, which I think is partly a financial thing. I don't know. So it's always been this battle, and particularly in Quebec schools. Do you give as many sports as possible to the general public, or do you want to concentrate on 4 or 5, basketball, hockey, football, and then not fund other programs? When I was in the CJEP system, everything was based on how much money you could raise. It's, we put our coaches in difficult situations sometimes because fundraising becomes part of their job. That's really, really pragmatic,
Mm-hmm.
and so it's just, you like to think that there's ways to fund everybody, and it doesn't seem with the caps on tuition and the caps on what the government gives to the schools. And you look at the French system, which has become really, really powerful in the last 30 years. Everything they do is private donations, and but they have better pipelines than say the English schools do. So I don't like to see teams get cut, And like I say, it's easy to stay on the sidelines and say, you shouldn't do that. But it's a tough situation. And I mean, look, McGill had 25 more teams than any other school. So it's a difficult situation. I don't like to see it, but I'm not sure I have an answer for it.
And I look at the mental health issues and stress of our students and teenagers. It's rising, and sports and clubs and such offer such connection and community.
That's correct.
I'm a teacher myself, and I see the value in it, of belonging, of having something to give yourself to. So I hope for the best on that front. You're listening to the Township's Daily News Bits featuring Mike Hickey, a renowned basketball coach, having been inducted into the Sports Hall of Fame 5 times and awarded the Quebec Basketball Coach of the Year 5 times as well. He brings his experience to the table in his memoir on Don Ryan, entitled When Basketball Was a Game, and there's a bigger mission and initiative that he will soon be bringing to the townships. Speaking back to your connection with Bishop's University, and on January 10th, this Saturday, you have a book signing that will take place at the game. There's 2 games you mentioned. Part of this is also bringing the mission to the townships, the Carry the Books as well as the Ball Initiative. So it's bigger than just this one event. Can you talk to us about this?
Oh, basically, when the book was to the publisher, and now we're trying to figure out how we're going to market it. So when I was looking at some things here, and I started looking at what Don's life was about, and first and foremost was education. Even as a coach, he was educating people how to play the game, how to be a good sportsmanship. So he said, "Why don't we try and get this into schools, get it into libraries?" And so we approached businessmen in Montreal and New York about donating books to local school boards, and we're in the process right now doing the same thing in the townships. So we have a couple of proposals out to local businesses that have a history of funding such projects, and we expect to have a positive answer within the next 10 days. But I would tell you that regardless of what happens with the funding, we will get books out to the local schools. I think it's so important. I spent 10 years as a substitute teacher in the townships. So I've been to most of the elementary schools. One of the things I'd like to offer to people is that we give the books ask the kids to read the books, have the coaches read the books. And then I wouldn't mind going back down and hitting a couple of schools on a day and talk to the kids about the value of sportsmanship and teamwork and things like that. So that's all in the works, but this has become my full-time job. And so I want to send the message of Don Ryan and the way he lived his life, and then and incorporate the sports has become too much a spectator sport as opposed to actual playing, and so let's get back to having kids go out and play and not have to spend thousands of dollars in equipment. And one of the beauty of basketball when I was growing up was you need a pair of running shoes and a basketball, and you can borrow somebody else's basketball. Now, you have to have special uniforms, you have to have this, you have to, and it's just some of these travel teams are thousands of dollars, and what happens is that you go, you spend time traveling to maybe to the States, usually nice experience. You may play, in a weekend, you may play about an hour of actual basketball. And then you come home, you're too tired to practice and things like that. But the experience is good. But then you do it 2 or 3 times, and the cortisol starts to rise, and it's just we're getting away from seasons. Now, basketball season is traditionally during the school year. Okay, and then the off seasons when you train and on your own, and you go out and you do things where you don't have a coach telling you what to do, or things blowing a whistle. And now we're being told it's 12 months a year of rigorous training. We have a situation where people who train now are everybody trying to make a buck, it seems to me. Off the sport, and in the States where they now have this transfer and this money, this NIL money, where players can get paid, and they get paid very, very good. All these players have agents, so, and the agents is telling them what's good for them, what's best for them. It could be a 22-year-old friend, and when I was growing up, the most valuable or the most important person in your life was your coach. And you trusted that coach, and the coach did things not to benefit him, but for the benefit of the student. And sometimes the message could be a little bit tough to take, but it was in the, but it was always with the intention of doing the best for the player. Now, I don't know if that's always the case. Right. And I don't want to blanket everybody. There's some really good programs. I know Lennoxville does a great with the summer program, but in the book, I have an excerpt from Steve Kerr, who's a coach of the Golden State Warriors, whose son played in this AAU summer basketball. And he says that, you'd be playing in a tournament, a kid would play for a team in the morning, and in the afternoon he's playing for a different team. So it's just crazy things like that. So I guess I just want to come back to a simpler time, where you go out and just have fun with kids,
Yeah, get out of your head.
Here's the bottom line: if kids don't have fun, they're not gonna keep playing. And we see that with the behavioral hockey player, but it's also the soccer parent, the hockey parent, the soccer parent, and I'm sure there's basketball parents like that too, where they're constantly playing for their parents rather than for themselves. And in the end, too often they stop playing. Right. Yeah. We talk about burnout. A lot of time that burnout is not physical; it's mental. Right. So. Right. Yeah. I had the fortune of being an athlete and being involved in teams my whole way through. And it was such an integral part of my education. And my parents put the emphasis on my education and my marks. And if those drop, you don't get the same, I experienced the same thing. Yeah. So you had goals. You had the chance that you might not achieve them. But if you did, wow, it had meaning. And here's the thing about it. I was just thinking about that before we went on side of this conversation. Winning and losing. Winning in life is really important. But we base that winning on scores, on a score sheet, okay? And it should be on how we improved, okay, or how we played. The Canadian junior hockey team just lost a really tough game. I thought they played a great game. They came up short. Okay, are they losers? No. Although some people, so the expectations are that we have to win all the time.
Right.
All right, and we don't have to win all the time. What we want all the time is good effort. All right, and we get good effort when the kids really love playing. But when we have to convince kids to come to a practice or come to or play in a tournament, then when we're doing something wrong, and so let's bring it back to when basketball was the game. It was fun.
I think you summed it up. I was going to ask you on the courts of life if you had any coaching advice for us, but it sounds like, keep the fun in it. Play. Oh,
without doubt. And that goes for everything. And that doesn't mean having kids fool around or not listening to instructions or not. I mean, the competitive spirit is something that can be instilled on people, and it can be transferred from player to player. It can be transferred from a coach. I just don't think that there's room in the game right now for sport and for people who are the old school. I used to run summer programs for a basketball organization in the West Island, and we had one young coach, and he told the players, if we don't win on Saturday, and they had no chance of winning the game, and the first thing practice, next Tuesday's practice, we would go do 20 suicides, I said, I don't think there's a player there who's going to show up for practice, and they know they go, like that's, it's not something you should dread. It's something you should be looking forward to.
Right.
And,
Right. It was written in the press release you shared with me. Don Ryan's emphasis was on sportsmanship, commitment, dedication, and teamwork. That's not about trophies. That's not about winning. That's not about scores and stats. That's about being a great teammate, a great person, and surpassing yourself.
There's a thing in the book I'll just share quickly with you. They're playing in the National Biddy Championships. And they win a game by a point. And then afterwards, the organizer of the tournament goes over and hands him a pair of scissors for him to cut down the nets. And he said, we're not going to cut down the nets. I mean, that team just lost the game by a point, and we're not going to rub it in. So he had all his players go over and shake their hands and talk to them and find out something about them. And then he said, go make a friend. And no, I'm not putting down the cutting the net celebration, but at the age of 12 and 13, you don't want to be fist pumping after you score a basket, you shouldn't be doing it when you're 40, but that's another story. The competition part of that is respect.
Absolutely.
You respect yourself, you respect your teammates, your coach, and the other team.
Well, thank you for highlighting the real goals behind sports and yes. Having respect, like you said, for yourself and for others. And, I find in classrooms, I hear a lot, well, everyone has to be a winner. You're the last winner. And I have a hard time swallowing that. Like you were saying, you need to learn how to be an eloquent winner, an eloquent loser, and see how you can improve. But yeah.
We go through this whole thing now, adversity. Adversity is how you mold your character, and we have a situation now where parents and sometimes teachers and they want to take that away from kids. Like if something goes wrong, then we have to take care of you, we have to cuddle you and stuff, and I'm a big supporter of positive reinforcement, but at the same time, I have sometimes in my coaching tenure, I probably had some issues with officials, and as the older I got, the more I appreciate what they did and how difficult their job was, and I always made a point of shaking the hands after the game. which wasn't always easy. The thing is that we're in a situation where, you go into the stands, you listen to parents, complain about referees and officials, and then they start to complain about their son's playing time or their daughter's playing time. And to a degree, it's understandable, but it's also counterproductive to understanding that I'm not the best player. I went to a very good high school that was very good in basketball, and I got cut 4 years in a row.
Oh boy!
I think it's a school record. But then I played in college. So I learned that, hey, where I was wasn't good enough. So in the summertime, I play against good players and this and that. So, and someone like Don Ryan offered me the opportunity to get better at my own pace, type of thing, where too often, we don't, so things don't work out for us right away, and boom, we're done.
We quit.
We're finished.
So teaching grit.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
perseverance.
It's going to happen in life. So we got to get used to it, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And we don't have to like it all the time, but it is a thing. So yeah.
Our challenges are when we grow the most. It can't always,
without doubt, without a doubt. And coaches will tell you they learn more from a loss than they do from a victory.
Right. Well, thank you so much. This is wonderful. I wish you the best of success with this book and your initiative and the mission behind it.
Well, thank you so much.
Take care. Bye.
Bye now.
That was Coach Hickey speaking to us about his latest book, When Basketball Was a Game. There will be a book signing event taking place at Bishop's University this Saturday, January 10th. He'll be on site from 5:30 to 8:30. There's a doubleheader against McGill, men's and women's basketball, so it should be a very lively and dynamic event to attend. All the best with the Carry the Books initiative. This is Holly Bailey signing off for the Local Journalism Initiative, funded through the Government of Canada.
That's it for this edition of the Pulse of the Eastern Townships. You've been listening to coverage of the Sherbrooke Citoyen court ruling and its implications for municipal opposition politics, followed by a local history feature on Coach Mike Hickey's new book, When Basketball Was a Game. It was produced by Missisquoi Community Radio, CIDI 99.1 FM, with the support of the Local Journalism Initiative. You can find more local reporting, interviews, and in-depth coverage at pulsetownships.com. I'm William Crooks. Thanks for listening, and always remember, keep that finger on the pulse.
The pulse do-do-do-do-do-do-do. The pulse do-do-do-do-do-do. Townships interviews. Don't forget breaking news. The pulse, the pulse, the pulse. Broadcast just for you. Or heading out for a cruise, or lying there for a snooze. The pulse, the pulse, the pulse. Broadcast just for you. Hey, I know that guy. Hey, I know that gal too. The pulse, the pulse, the pulse. Broadcast just for you. The townships are the muse. Make sure to choose the pulse, the pulse, the pulse, the pulse. The pulse, the pulse, the pulse, the pulse. The pulse of the Eastern Townships broadcast just for you.